3, 2.
Yo, what's up? Ladies and gentlemen.
Motorsport 411 presents
All the 4 and 2-wheeled action.
Motorsport 411 with Sean Cardovillis.
Welcome to Motorsport 411, your home for all your 4 and 2-wheel action in Africa. Coming up in this episode, we recap the RSC Machakos Rally that was held over the weekend. The event was won by Jeremiah Wahome and Victor Okundi. And we speak to two-time Kenyan National Rally Champion Alastair Cavanagh, a true motorsport legend.
All the 4 and 2-wheeled action. Motorsport 411.
Welcome to the show. So it was the Young Turks who dominated the RSC Machakos Rally over the weekend. Jeremiah Wahome won the event, followed by Kimathi, with Jasmeet Chana in third. Now, Wahome is the first indigenous Kenyan to win a Kenyan National Rally Championship event since 1999. The legendary Patrick Njiru was the last person to do so. I spoke to Wahome after the event. Jeremiah, thank you so much for speaking to us on Motorsport 411. Has it sunk in yet, the win?
I think every day it just sinks in more, but now I would say yes, it has. Now that I've gotten time to just reflect on the weekend.
Now, we're being told it's since 1999, Patrick Njiru, in fact, it is, who was the last indigenous Kenyan to win a Kenyan National Rally Championship event. It's a massive achievement.
Yeah, I had that as well, and I completely was not aware. I wouldn't even have known the time frame, but yeah, it's quite a proud moment to be able to change that and rewrite that, and hopefully, we can continue this trend.
We've seen the flashes of brilliance from you. Of course, it's a massive change from what you were doing before. You were essentially doing circuit racing. We know about the Formula 3, your exploits in Southeast Asia and Europe. Really, this now is a culmination of all the efforts you put in.
Yeah, there's been all of those racing events that I've done, all just build a lot of experience. So though that was circuit racing, I do believe that, quite a bit of the skills I've learned are transferable, and then rallying for the past 2 years has also helped. So this has been building over time, and yeah, happy that we can finally get the results to show for it.
Now, you're making a formidable combination with Victor Okundi. A word about him?
Yeah, he's been great. Since I started rallying, he's the person I was paired with, and we've enjoyed the relationship thus far, and we've just clicked from the very beginning and gelled, and that's the most important thing in the car. And as we go, we just keep making small adjustments to my notes, how I want him to read them, and he's always able to, make the adjustments necessary, and we really do enjoy our time together. So I believe that really helps make it a successful partnership.
Now, it wasn't all plain sailing during the rally. You had a lot of issues with overheating.
Yeah, I think that's what surprised me the most, because when I came back to service, people were saying, oh, you've won. But especially in the power stage, we were overheating from, once we got into 5th gear, the temperatures were already up. So we had to crawl. I think McRae was I can't remember the time, but he gained on us by more than a minute. And it was only 7 seconds in the end. But luckily, we managed to stay out of trouble, because a few people had punctures, a few breakdowns. So as all that was going on, it helped us create a buffer, even if we were overheating.
Now, of course, a big part is really the team, the people behind the scenes. You got literally a solid team behind you.
Yeah, the team was awesome. The car was so nice to drive. I remember I was telling them after the first stage that, because we made a few changes to the suspension, and I loved it. So I was just telling them, like, it was such a joy to drive. It's a shame that, I guess, with the overheating, that I didn't really get to push as much, but they did a great job, and I'm sure they'll get on top of the overheating before we go to Voi.
Now, it really was a fantastic weekend for the team. As you mentioned, of course, McRae finishing second. It really was a huge boost for the team.
Yeah, that's, again, as you said, the first win in 20 years for, I don't know how exactly you put it, just say a Kenyan driver. And then we managed to get a 1-2. So, even as teammates, we are competitors. I'm sure he would have loved to probably be the one who was on the top step, but it's nice for us to push each other and keep progressing, and it's good for the sport and good for us that we become better drivers. So that was quite a special moment to share with him as well.
How tough was it for the team? The late Alastair Cavanagh not there over the weekend. He's been a key component behind the scenes for the team. We're talking about Kalulu, who sadly passed away, over the Christmas period.
Yeah, he was quite a fundamental part of the team, and him and his brother Adil were running things. So he was missed, but I believe this was a very good way, or should I say, a send-off for the team to get a 1-2. So yeah, I'm sure he'll be missed a lot.
Now, it's well known that rallying is in transition. We're seeing low entries. We're seeing the older generation taking a break from the sport. Just your thoughts on the general state of motorsport.
Yeah, that's true. I never used to follow rallying much, but I do remember going to watch a couple of rallies where, you'd see around 40 entries, or you'd have trouble finding a spot to watch because there were so many Kenyans who had gone out to watch. So I don't know what it's going to take to bring back those days. I know maybe things are a bit more expensive these days, and with the influx of the R5s and even the R3s are a bit more expensive than what we had in the Evos and the Subarus. So I know they're trying to open up the classes to encourage more people to join, but hopefully even wins like this will just help encourage other young people. Just come join. Even if the win may not come immediately, just a couple of rallies, a couple of years in the sport, and everyone can enjoy their own moment of success. So hopefully entries keep on rising.
It was a huge blow to the event. The defending champion Karan Patel pulling out at the last minute due to a lack of sponsorship. How big a blow was it to the event?
I think that highlights just how difficult maybe things are at the moment, because he's the reigning champion, but still sponsorship is a bit hard to come by. So that does make us feel like we have the sponsorship of the program, and Kenya Airways, Safaricom. So quite privileged, and a big thanks to them that we are able to continue. But I'm sure it would have been, we were rallying with him last year in ARC, and he's very tough competition. I think you'd only get a sniff at beating him if he had a small hiccup, but he's helped push us all try and get close to him if we want to get podiums and wins. So I guess in a way, maybe it helped that he wasn't there, but we wish for him to be back. I'm sure he'll be there in Voi. So just to get back to some more competition and a good benchmark.
Yasin Nasser was there from Uganda, of course. He's testing his R5, the Rally 2, the Ford Fiesta. It must have been good to have him there.
Yeah, that was good as well. He was behind me. So at some point I was like, oh, I have an R5 behind me, but, just head down looking forward, and the car looks nice and sounds great. But yeah, he was testing it out, gearing up for the full ARC season. So I'm sure within a couple of rallies, he'll be right up there giving us a good run for our money.
Now, let's talk about how you prepare for these rallies. It's quite well known that you use simulators quite a lot. Just tell us how you would prepare and how much seat time you get in between rallies.
Yeah, okay, the simulator days were more so in the formula side. I've not been in a proper rally simulator. So for me, what I do like doing is just trying to learn as much as I can from watching. Maybe I'd watch other people's onboard videos and just see the different ways they call their notes. And then I'm usually able to just pick up a few things. So between every rally, I'm always looking at what small areas can I improve. Unfortunately, as of now, we don't get too many opportunities to practice or test before the rallies. So, stage one is usually the first time we're in the car since the previous rally. So even that just helps us learn how to get up to speed, quite quickly. So for me, it's just watching videos and just trying to improve every stage. I'm always working on something. Maybe I particularly struggle a bit with the car sliding too much. So I'm trying to get on top of that. But every time I'm in the car, I'm working on those things, even if it's not practice in the competition.
That's extraordinary, and it makes your performance all the more amazing that you don't even get to sit in a rally car in between rallies.
Yeah. Practice would be a great help, but I think if we had that, then maybe it would be would be even better and progressing faster. But again, grateful with what we've got as of now.
So I guess it comes down to equipment. Would you invest in, say, a rally car for testing?
We are looking at that option, I believe, as a team. On my own, the thing is, it would help, yes, if I did per se have my own rally car, but the handling characteristics of these cars are also different. So, jumping from an R3 to, let's say, I've not driven a Mitsubishi, but I've driven a Subaru N10. They're completely different cars. So yes, some skills will be transferable, but at the end of the day, the way the cars handle is completely different. So we're trying to see what would be the best solution to help with that.
Now, the big difference for the team this year compared to last year is that you won't be competing in the African Rally Championship.
If I can put an asterisk on that, I remember saying at the beginning of the season, well, maybe with a few good results at the first few rallies, we'll convince them or hopefully get a sponsor who can help us do the full season. So I hope such results like the 1-2 in Machakos helps. We will not be doing the Cote d'Ivoire round, but we'll be doing the Equator at Voi. So who knows, after Voi, if we have another good showing, we may convince them to do Uganda and then keep going like that. But as of now, the full Kenya National Championship, we're confirmed for that. And then we'll see how many ARCs we can do after Equator.
Now, one of your members was missing over the weekend. That's Hamza Anwar. He's now going to be competing in selected rounds of the Junior World Championship. He's currently in Sweden, in fact, for this week's Swedish Rally. Just a word about him.
Yeah, I'm so happy for him. Hamza is always good competition, and we're always having a great time between the three of us, just pushing each other. So for him to get that opportunity, we're all keenly waiting to see how he does. His first rally is in Sweden this weekend, so supporting him from here. But yeah, we believe he'll do a good job, and we'll be able to learn a few things off of what he's learned. Likewise with what happened with McRae last year. So yeah, rooting for him as he represents Kenya and Africa. Yeah, just actually very happy for him and Adnan to get that opportunity.
Now, finally, I know we've asked you this before, but it would be good to have a clarification because I understand certain parts of the media are still calling you Jeremy, and it's actually Jeremiah. Can you clarify that for us?
Yeah, okay, simple way to put it. Legally, yes, I was Jeremy, but I went through a legal change of name, so I have lengthened it instead of shortening it. That's the simple part about it. So it is officially Jeremiah, so like on the entry list on my licenses. So yeah, going forward, it is Jeremiah. It does create a bit of confusion.
All right. Listen, thank you so much for speaking to us on Motorsport 411. Congratulations once again from all of us at Motorsport 411. It is Jeremiah Wahome who won the RSC Machakos Rally.
Thanks, Sean, for having me. I've enjoyed the chat.
We'll be back.
All the 4- and 2-wheeled action.
Motorsport 411.
So welcome back. Now he's retired these days and is a very successful entrepreneur. Alastair Cavanagh is a 2-time Kenya National Rally Champion. I sat down to speak to him at Vipingo Ridge at the magical Kenya Ladies Open. Alastair, thank you so much for speaking to us on Motorsport 411 now. Don't know if you know, you're always been one of my favorite rally drivers of all time, and it's always been a privilege hanging out with you also with testing and all that. For those that don't know much about you, just tell us briefly about your rally career.
Okay, well, in a nutshell, I guess I started when I came out here in 1997, won the championship in 1999, and then was probably one of the fastest drivers for the ensuing 11 years, but it took me another 11 years to win the title again, and a lot of broken cars and bits and gearboxes. But yeah, no, I've had a fantastic time in motorsport here in Kenya.
You've always been known for your flamboyant speed. You're basically very exciting out on the road. It was almost like all or nothing for you.
Yeah, that was very much my tactic and technique, if you can call it a technique, and that's the way I always used to drive. It was flat out or nothing. And when it worked, it got the results. When it didn't, it ended up in an accident or a broken car. But that was just the way I enjoyed driving.
You probably paid the ultimate price because you had to retire through injury. Do you think it was because of that?
It certainly didn't help. I think a combination of rugby when I was younger and motorsports when I was older. Yeah, my neck and back are not in a good state. So, but I don't regret any of it.
Just tell us first of all about the early years. You said you came here. Where were you before this? Before Kenya?
I'm from Wales originally. I left Wales when I was 18. Went to Germany. Spent 10 years there. Just fell into the tea trade by chance. And it was tea that brought me out to Kenya in 1994. I was only supposed to be here for 6 weeks setting up an office, and 30 years later, almost, here I am still. So, fell in love with it. Kenya's my home now.
How did you get into motorsport?
I'd always been keen on motorsport, but never had enough money really to participate in it. It is an expensive sport. When I came out here, Mombasa Motor Club had quite an active sort of buggy racing scene, and I bought an old Datsun Triple S from Mike Kirkland. And that's how the whole thing sort of started.
And then, of course, you had quite a spectacular rise, going on to win the championship. Were you surprised at how quick that happened?
Yeah, I guess I was a bit. And the first championship, I have to say, I was quite lucky. I don't know if you remember the event, but Rory Green, who was my leading competitor, he had a really unfortunate final stage where his service crew forgot to put his wheel nuts on properly. And that dropped him out and put us into the lead. So it could have come down to one of three of us, and that was back in '99. I think it was Ian, myself, or Rory. And there's a lot of luck involved in motorsport.
And those days, you could almost say like the golden age of motorsport. There was so much competition. People were getting a lot of stuff from the safari as well, in terms of equipment, cars and things like that. Yeah,
I just sort of came in at the tail end of that, and it'd been nice to have had a drive as some of my predecessors had. I had a car to test throughout the season in the local championship. I missed out on that, but we did certainly get a bit of sponsorship support from Subaru over the years, from the Group N Works team that they were running. But it's sad. I see the local championship now, the entries are very low again, but I've also been through a period in my rallying out here when we only had 10, 15 cars out, so hopefully it can be turned around, but there's a lot to be done.
Did you have a chance to compete in the Safari Rally before it was pulled out? The final one was in 2002.
Yeah, no, I competed in 97 through to 2002, and enjoyed it. Never had a good finish. In fact, I'd never finished it. But we were running in fourth at one stage, but unfortunately that came to an end in Bogoria. But really, it was a fantastic event in those days. Very different to what it is now, I think. But times change, and we have to live with what we've got. But I'd like to see it go back a little bit to its roots and longer, more endurance.
Yeah, you were talking about cycles after 2002. There was a lean period where, KCB started coming in, but again, there was a low cycle, and then it started picking up again, right up towards about 2010.
Yeah, and it was televised in those days. I don't know if you remember, it was on DSTV, and that obviously makes a big difference to sponsors and their interest. And I think the organisers need to make sure that it gets back onto DSTV, certainly because that's what sponsors want to see, some return for their investment.
A lot of competition. Who really was your nemesis? Who would you say was your toughest competition?
I always say the best, sort of most competitive years I had was in the sort of mid to late 2005 to 2010, probably, when Flash, myself and Ian were all in identical Evo 9s, and it was very close. That was a really fun couple of years.
Baldy, would he come into the mix at all at any point?
He did, certainly, but in those years he was not quite sort of on the pace. I know he's right up there now, but Baldy would be sort of normally in third or fourth amongst the four of us in those days. But that's not to say anything about his driving abilities, which I know are extremely good, and he's a quick driver.
You've had some very interesting cars in your day, from Subarus to Mitsubishis. There was also the Proton as well. Just tell us about some of your cars.
Yeah, well, Group N, obviously, I went through most of the Subarus and Evolutions from version 8s through to 12, 13, whatever they got up to. There was a bit of a mistake bringing the Protons out, I think, which Flash and I did, I think in 2010 8 or 9. I can't remember exactly when we brought them. No, maybe later. But they didn't perform very well out here. They just weren't strong enough for the terrain, and they weren't actually as quick as we thought they were going to be. But they were fun to drive nonetheless when they worked. One of the cars I've enjoyed driving the most actually has been the old classic 911. It's a trade car. It's really good fun, strong, reliable, and fast as well.
I remember the Proton. In fact, I was with you the very first test. I don't know if you remember behind the Ngong Hills, and there was so much optimism. In fact, one of the people involved with the maintenance of the car was the late Jim Heather Hayes as well. From your point of view, the optimism at that time, could you foresee all the issues you were going to have later on?
No, I think I'd have sent it back immediately if I'd even had an inkling of how expensive and problematic they were going to be. And yeah, just to mention Jim, obviously Jim was a real icon of the sport and looked after me pretty much from 1999 when I first won the championship through to when I retired, which I guess was in 2018 with my last classic rally. But yeah, Jim will be sorely missed, and he was a true friend to myself and many others in the sport.
Sadly, you've had to retire mainly due to a back injury from your point of view, but we still see you in motorsport from time to time. We've seen you at Rallycross. From your point of view, classic rallying maybe for you?
No, I don't think so. I think the chances of injuring my back are too high there, but I might do the occasional Rallycross because they're shorter, a bit smoother, and yeah, you can see the bumps coming generally, so unless you get knocked over and land on your roof, which wouldn't be good for my back, I would like to continue doing that and helping Flash support the event.
For the future, I see your boys are now involved in motorsport. Just tell us about that.
Yeah, well, I guess it was inevitable, really. They're sort of going to follow in Dad's footsteps, and they've started with enduro riding. They both won their respective championships first time out last year, which I was very proud of them about. They've got a buggy now with a Probox engine in, so I don't suppose it'll be long before they're sort of buggy racing and following in, wanting to go rallying as well. So I'll support them there as much as I can. But they're going to have to get their own sponsorship and not just rely on Dad.
Do you miss motorsport? Do you miss the action? We see one of your best friends, Flash, you still meet up with him regularly. Do you guys kind of miss motorsport? Because also Flash appears to be taking more of a back seat now to driving, regularly, in the championship.
I do, but I think you've also got to acknowledge when your body's sort of given up and you can't do it or shouldn't be doing it any longer. And I enjoy following the boys around now on their motorbikes. I've got a bike myself and I go around and help them. And I'm still sort of involved on the fringes, but I think I've had my time and my day and enjoyed it, and now I sort of relive it through the kids.
Just finally, we're talking here at Vipingo. You're heavily involved with this, a co-founder of Vipingo Ridge. Just tell us about that.
Yeah, well, we set up Vipingo almost inadvertently in 2004. I was looking for another piece of land somewhere else. There was never really the intention to build a big international PGA accredited golf course, which is what we've ended up with. And to sort of see it to having transformed from the original plan, which was nothing like this, to what it is now is fantastic. Actually, it's a great story, and I'm very proud to be part of it.
That's the two-time Kenya National Rally Champion, Alastair Cavanagh. We'll be back.
Motorsports 411 with Sean Cardovillis.
So that's it for the show this week. Our thanks once again to Jeremiah Wahome and Alastair Cavanagh. Our thanks as always to Big City Studio. I'm Sean Cardovillis. See you next week.